Greetings in the wonderful name of Jesus. I am Bertie Brits, and it's a great blessing for me to have you just join us in this program wherein I have an interview with different people, talking to them about Jesus Christ and the power of grace. I would like you to just open your heart for the message of grace. Maybe you're going through a very difficult time and you've tried so many things to be free from what is keeping you down. Today, I've got Wesley Knight with me in the studio, and he's got a powerful testimony that will really impact your life. Wesley, welcome to this program. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Betty. Pleasure to be here.
Now, Wesley, I've known you for a while. You've been coming to our church in Durbanville, and you've got a very powerful testimony. But before we get into that, just tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from?
Yes, I come from Cape Town, Bertie, and grew up in Cape Town, married to beautiful wife, Doreen. She's a missionary from Holland, and she's busy with prostitution outreaches and homeless care, prison outreaches and so forth. And yeah, we basically fellowship together. I'm in the technical field, and yeah, just take life day by day, basically. Yeah.
Wesley, you've also gotten a hold of the grace message, you know,
Yes.
and I know that you've got a wonderful understanding about grace. Now, we're going to get into your testimony, but just as an introduction, what has the gospel of grace done for you?
Well, the gospel of grace. The gospel of grace has really just touched me. Yeah, I feel full acceptance by God. Something that I really struggle with. It's opened up new levels in my heart, new emotions, new feelings, new ideas. I feel like it's really just built on a relationship with God. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, with me, if I look at my life and I look at the grace message and how it's brought a change, I see the same thing in your life. It just brought an understanding of who God is,
Yeah.
you know, and how to deal with people in everyday life, you know. And your testimony is a powerful testimony of something that has just started with something that's unimaginable, which I also think a lot of people struggle with, but are very ashamed of. Can you just, man, I give you the platform, just start and share with us what is in your heart, what happened to you from small, what were your struggles, and then as you continue, I will just chirp in here and there and ask you some questions.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Right, so my struggle really started when I was young. It's, the whole story, it basically goes around my drug addiction. And I had a drug addiction for 13 years. Over the 13 years, I used various types of drugs. And I'd like to start off at the beginning. So what happened was that while growing up, I had a bit of a problem. Whereas when I sleep at night, I would wake up and I would always be full of urine. So I would always wet myself. And at a very young age, I started feeling the shame. I started feeling the rejection, and I couldn't have any sleepovers. I couldn't be involved in many of the activities that was going on around. I always had rashes all up on my skin, and yeah, it was really bad. So at the age of 7, I really felt like the severe shame that the thought came in my mind of committing suicide. And I rejected the thought, and I cried out to God, and I told God that He created me, and this is not of my own doing. I can't help what is going on here, and I decided I'm just going to hand it over to Him. And so then from that point on, I always turn to God for certain things in my life. When I'm mostly in trouble, and then I would turn to Him, or if I needed guidance, I would turn to Him. And you know, I started building on a relationship with God. At the time, I reached about 16 years old. I was a teenager, and obviously I wanted to have a girlfriend, and I wanted to stop with this whole, or put away the side of the bedwetting. So I basically just wanted to change my reality because I couldn't do it out on my own. And so then I started experimenting with smoking marijuana. And with the smoking of marijuana, it kind of put me in a different mindset, and I enjoyed it. It never took my problem away, but I could cope with it then. And then from that point on, I started drinking quite a lot, alcohol.
Before we get into that, I want to just ask you this. I was now thinking a boy of 7 years old,
Yeah.
you know, wetting his bed, this is now becoming abnormal.
Mm.
You can't stay over at friends' houses, you know, and obviously you had to realize this after a while. I mean, you would go there and then these things would happen. How did other kids treat you and other people?
Yeah, it was kind of that I was living a double life, so I wouldn't take it anywhere outside of the home. And so everything was kept within the doors of the household.
Okay, so you didn't go, you didn't go anywhere.
I couldn't go anywhere, yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me upset. I was angry all the time. I was really shameful. I felt rejected. Yeah, I just couldn't be one of the normal people. I couldn't be a normal child. Yeah.
Yeah, so then you said you spoke to God about it and you just said, God, I'm not going to kill myself. So at that young age, now many people would say, well, wetting your bed, I mean, why don't you just stop it? You know, it is, but like you said, it is something that is greater than just human willpower.
Yeah.
You know, it is something that you need help. And you called on God.
Yeah.
And then you said you called on God, but then you got into drugs. How did that take place?
It took place, I think, because of my shame.
Okay.
So it just became too severe for myself to handle, and I had to find an alternative method. So at the time, my mom was really helpful. So she took me to many different doctors and tried getting different prescriptions in order to help me with the situation, and it would work, but then my body would reject it after a while, and it would just go back to me wetting myself again. So at the time of 16 years old, that's when I decided, yeah, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. Yeah.
Well, you're going to be set free from this by your own power now.
Yeah, exactly. So then I started with
marijuana.
Started with the marijuana, and then I started drinking the alcohol. And surprisingly enough, if I had a beer before I went to sleep, I wouldn't wet myself. So I kept on drinking the alcohol before I went to sleep. And not long after that, approximately 3-4 months, and then my body rejected it and just went back into wetting myself again. From there, I started trying ecstasy and went on to LSD. And I tried many different drugs at that point. What I found is that I was still wetting myself, but I was able to cope with my environment much better. So it was almost like an external remedy. And by the time that I came to 19 years old, the bedwetting finally stopped. But by that age, I was already addicted on severe drugs. So I was on 8 different types of drugs at the moment. I was on marijuana, I was on crack cocaine, I was on normal cocaine, I was on heroin, I was on LSD, ecstasy, so many various types of drugs. And I then started really going out and enjoying the nightlife. So I would basically love being inside the clubs, and it became such a severe addiction that I couldn't step out of it. So no matter what I'd done in order to try and stop the addiction, I just couldn't let it go. So by that time in my life, I developed close friendships, but with the wrong crowd, basically. And by the age of 25, I went over to England, and I fell into the drug trade in England, whereas I was holding bags of cocaine that's been transported through the trains, as well as marijuana, and everything would be then cut up and dealt out from my place and distributed out into the surrounding areas. So that was quite severe. And I still had my day job, and one day when I went to work, my Pakistani friend approached me and he told me that your God and my God is the same God, and therefore we are brothers. And I never had an answer for him. And I thought to myself, I went to Sunday school, and I was confirmed in the Anglican church. I knew a little bit about God, but not enough in order to be able to answer this guy's question. And him being quite a religious Muslim, he had all the facts that he needed in order to back himself up. And I told him, I don't have an answer for you, I'll have to think about it. So then I thought, okay, I need to get my hands on the Bible, because I understand that Jesus has answers. I don't know him, but he does have answers. So then 1 year later, I came back to South Africa, and this desire was basically stirring inside of me in order to find the answer to the statement. And while I was on my way to a 3-day festival, I was in the back of my friend's car, and he had an amplified Bible. And this is the first time since my friend stated this statement that I actually had my hands on the Bible. And I never knew where to start, but for some reason I always start at the back of a book when reading through it. So then I decided I'm going to start at the back of this Bible. Maybe I'll find an answer. The drive was really short. It was approximately 45 minutes from our destination to the point. And then I started reading, and I started reading on the book of Revelation, but there was something that stood out for me, and I just couldn't understand it. And it's where John writes that he was in the Spirit, and then he heard a voice behind him, and he turned around and he saw someone standing as if it's the Son of Man. And this really gripped me, because this is in the beginning of the book, and it means that he was in the Spirit before all of these things happened. And I'm busy reading his written testimony of things that happened while he was on this island of Patmos. And I couldn't understand, like, how can he be in the Spirit but yet be in the flesh in order to record it? And at the time I just couldn't make any sense of it. And I closed the book, and I thought, yeah, okay, I can't make any sense of this. I'm just going to enjoy myself at the festival. Went to the festival, and my brother then came to me, and my brother said, in order to get to the Father, you have to go through the Son. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I was enjoying the festival on the dance floor and everything. And I gave it a little bit of thought, and I thought to myself, but you know, Jesus, to my understanding, is the only one who proclaimed to be the Son of God. And because of that, they found it to be blasphemy, and that's the reason why he was crucified. So then I thought maybe I should actually address Jesus on this topic. So then after the festival the next day, I went back home, and I thought to myself, I've never actually prayed using Jesus' name before. All my life, while struggling, was wetting myself all the way through and building up a relationship with God and really depending on Him for breakthrough. And so I've never once included Jesus. So then I thought, okay, maybe this one time I'm going to address it to Jesus, and maybe there's going to be some kind of answer. And so then I came home, and I went into the backyard, and I said, looked up into the sky, and I said, Jesus, forgive me for never praying to you before, but I had no idea that I have to pray to you. I literally only found out now. So my life is a mess. I'm a drug addict. I've been a drug addict for quite a long time.
And you're dealing with drugs?
I'm dealing with drugs. I come from a festival where we were just taking drugs. But if I don't approach you now, I'm never going to do it, because I'm every day on drugs. So this is my problem. I've been reading up in this Bible. I don't understand what this guy means by saying that he was in the Spirit, but to my understanding, the Bible says that God is Spirit as well. So if I don't understand what he means by simply saying that he was in the Spirit, it actually tells me that I don't actually understand who God is. And that bothers me. So you created me in a way that I need to see things in order to understand it. So I ask you, open up my eyes in order for me to see what a Spirit is, so that I can understand it. I don't want to see in order to believe. I really believe. That's why I'm asking you. I just want to I just want to understand. And that was the end of my prayer, and went to go sleep. So then the next day I went into the yard the next morning after waking up, and the normal ritual at the time would be, in my life, would be that I would roll marijuana, and I would sit in the morning and I would first smoke. And that would be how I start my day off. So then I went into the yard and I rolled marijuana and I lit it and I started praying. So at that point in my life, I never had a problem with that. So I would pray to God whenever. Whether I'm on drugs, when I'm not on drugs, it does not matter to me because I fully believe that He loves me the same. So I was busy praying to God, and the sky actually stood out because for some reason it seemed much brighter than what it was normally. And I started thanking Him for a beautiful sky and just for a beautiful day ahead. And I never really smoked of the marijuana because I was busy with the prayer. But then at that point, in front of me, a spiritual being appears and he stands and he's busy looking at me. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've never heard of anything like this before. Or what is happening? But then I kept quiet and I threw the marijuana away. I knew that, yeah, okay, we're having something happening over here. Thought about it and I was like, but I prayed to Jesus yesterday asking Him to reveal a spirit to me. And I'm busy praying at this moment. And then I simply said, Jesus, if this is from you, then thank you for answering my prayer. But if it's not from you, I don't want to see this anymore. And the image became more real, started standing really out, up until it was like a physical man standing in front of me. Although he never had any flesh, it was of a different form, of a different substance. And I was looking at him and I was thinking, okay, so what now? And then I started like getting this scriptures referenced into my mind. And it had to be during my upbringing of going to Sunday school, being confirmed, learning a little bit about God, about the Bible and so. And I started having the scriptures running through my mind and everything was pertaining to the Holy Spirit and everything is pertaining to Jesus. And then I was thinking, okay, but if this spiritual being is from the kingdom of God, then he has to have a crown on his head. And then on top of his head was a burning crown that appeared. And it was a crown of fire. And so his appearance was royal blue and he had a crown of fire on his head and he's standing in front of me. And I was like so blown away that I just never knew what to do. And at the same time, the image turned. It's a vision that I can't really explain in many words, but the image turned. And what I was seeing now was that it was a cross that was in front of me and it's a man hanging on a cross with a crown on his head. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is Jesus. And it was so surreal that I couldn't dismiss it at all. So then I looked at him and, you know, I could see all the little details of him as well as the cross itself.
So I just want to say this. I want to ask this. You have rolled a joint, smoked marijuana, and here in the middle of what most of the church would say is a sin that separates you from God.
Yeah.
God comes and meets with you.
Yeah.
This is what's taking place now.
That's exactly
And
it.
it is like a vision that is first blurry, the form of a man. It becomes clearer and clearer until you see a man on the cross.
Yeah.
And this, while you were thinking maybe you smoked some stuff that's not good for you, you know, and you're seeing
yeah, exactly, hallucinations, yeah.
Meantime, it's a vision from the Lord.
Yeah.
So you would say that didn't separate you from God then?
No. It actually brought me closer to God. So the way that I felt at the time was that, is this possible, firstly? All my life I've been taught that we first have to put away or make our lives right, put away our sin before we can actually turn to God.
Yes.
Because of the teachings that I was receiving was that God cannot look upon sin. So I cannot come to God in the state that I was. My life was in ruins. I'm a drug addict. There's a whole lot wrong with my life. So there's no possible way that I'll be able to turn to Him. But yet I'm having this experience and I'm standing with a joint in my hand, but yet Jesus is in front of me. And at that point, I said, God, if you would like me to, I don't have a problem telling everybody had to come across about this experience.
Yes,
But
that's
if you
good.
want me to do that, then I need you to blow my mind by what I'm seeing over here. And it became so surreal. It's as if he was standing right in front of me, that I lifted up my hands and then I said, okay, I
Yes.
fully accept it. I fully believe it. Thank you for showing me this.
Mm.
And that was really a point of transformation in my life.
Mm.
It's not like a lightning bolt came down from heaven and struck me.
Yes.
It's not that everything left me at that point.
Yeah.
I still had my problems,
Yes.
but I felt accepted on a whole level that I've never felt before. So I started having many visions from that point on. And a week later, I went to a church. The church is Lofdal International. And I went down there one Sunday with my brother. And the praise and worship started. And when I came in, I started feeling the stirring on the inside of me. And I never knew what it was. I've never felt it before. Felt like electricity, but much more subtle. And I came in and I sat down and I thought to myself, I feel like I'm becoming emotional and I might burst out into tears, but I'm a man, I can't cry. The last time I cried, I don't even remember. And I stand up and the worship is carrying on and this woman starts singing. And as she starts singing, oh, the tears just start falling out of my eyes and I just couldn't contain myself. And that is the first time that I actually felt like I came home. That was the exact feeling that I had. I felt like, oh my gosh, I've never felt anything like this before. This is what I've been searching for all my life. I feel literally like I've come home, but how can that possibly be? I'm standing in a church that I visited before actually. But this is the first time ever that I feel this. I felt the love of God. I felt the touch of God that I could not explain, but I very much felt it, yeah.
Now, I want to ask this. At that time, did you then give up drugs at that moment? Or were you still on drugs, going to church now? What was going on there?
I couldn't give up drugs at the moment. I was
Okay.
still going to church, and sometimes might seem real wrong, but I would go to church with the drugs in my pocket because I knew that there's something over there that I felt that is calling me and I want more of that. And I had the drugs in my pocket. I would go to church and I would be in the praise and worship and I enjoy myself. And when I'm done with the church, I would feel so relieved that I wouldn't actually do the drugs. And that's how it started breaking off of me. It took me some time in order to actually break away, or for God to break all this out of my life. All the substances that I was on, it took one at a time in order to break me off of it.
Yeah.
Up until the time that I was completely set free of it. Yeah.
Well, Wesley, I want to say this. You know, we've got about 1.5 minutes left. And I think we're going to have to do another program to just finish your testimony. But just, I want to just say thank you so much for just a heart that is so open to share boldly what God has come and shared or done in your life. It will be okay if we do another program?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we're going to, right after this, record the other one.
Okay.
I want to just go to our viewers and just say, don't miss the next program. Here you see a man that was on drugs. God met him while smoking marijuana, and God walked with him, didn't reject him while he was using drugs, and eventually set him completely free. Wesley, thank you so much that you've come to the studio to share with us.
Thank you, Betty. It's a pleasure.
Those of you that are watching, please go to our website at dynamicministries.com. Make use of all the material we have there for free, and you can also on the website see the other program, the second part of this testimony. Know that God loves you, He cares for you, that He will always be with you, and that He embraces you with an eternal embrace. God bless.